Minecraft over the years has been subject to an insane amount of changes, big and small. In the early days of InfDev, Alpha, Beta, and the first few official releases, things in the game were changing rapidly, with multiple major updates coming out just within a few months of each other, rather than the year-ish we have to wait nowadays. This led to an incredible amount of additions and changes, and with those additions, subtractions of experimental ideas that just didn't really work out. This has been the status quo for many snapshots and pre-release versions over the years. So today, let's take a trip down memory lane and revisit some of those removed features that you forgot ever existed. The only way to find horse armor and saddles in Minecraft today is to find them as chest loot, fishing, or villager trading. This has almost always been the case, however, for a brief period in the snapshots for version 1.6, which is the version that horses were added into the game, Mojang toyed with the idea of adding craftable saddles. This was from snapshots 13W16A to 13W18A, which was the difference of just 2 weeks. The crafting recipe was iron ingots and leather, which honestly makes a lot of sense. I don't really know why they never kept this as a feature, because it makes sense, but if I had to guess, it's probably not wanting to take the saddle from its roots of only being found in dungeon chests back in the day. In that same snapshot period, you could craft horse armor using 1 piece of wool and the respective ores. I really wish Mojang stuck with this, because imagine if you could dye horse armor based on the wool you used in the crafting recipe. Missed opportunity for sure. One of the most well-known removed features is the way you used to be able to craft chainmail armor. Chainmail armor, which was an unobtainable in survival item in and of itself for the longest period of time ever for some reason, used to be craftable using fire? Not only did you have to cheat just to get chainmail armor back in the day, but you could also cheat to get the literal fire item just to craft a piece of armor you had to cheat to get anyway? Because that makes sense. Oh yeah, and these shenanigans began in InDev, and it wasn't removed as a feature until one of the snapshots for official release 1.8, when Ocean Monuments were released. Like 4.5 years later. What a weird thing to cling on to. Speaking of weird things, for an extremely brief period in one of Minecraft's InDev updates, you could craft arrows from apples. And when I say extremely brief, I mean this was a feature for 1 day. It was the first day the crafting menu was released on January 28, 2010, and the apples to arrows crafting recipe was simply a coding test by Notch to see how it worked. And well, it worked, so it was immediately patched out the next day on January 29th when a lot of the classic crafting recipes were added, like sticks, planks, and tools. It's kind of got a funny place on this list because it is probably the shortest lived feature of all time in the game's history and will hold that title forever. If you somehow played Minecraft on that exact day in January 2010 and remember the apples to arrows crafting recipe, let me know in the comments. All the way back in Minecraft's survival test version, which was the very brief period of the game between Minecraft Classic and Minecraft InDev, creepers were introduced for the first time. Eventually, obviously becoming arguably the most iconic and recognizable video game enemies of all time. However, you may not have known that the creeper explosion wasn't the original idea for their attack. Back in survival tests, the creepers had a melee attack, almost like a faster form of the zombie. It was kind of unsettling going back and playing this for the recording clip, to be honest. Once InDev was released, the creeper was given its famous explosion attack. Melee creepers just feel fundamentally wrong even at the time of survival test. Another goofy quirk of survival test was the old walking animations for mobs. This one pretty much speaks for itself. I mean, just look at those goofballs go. Every single mob at the time had hilarious walking animations that were updated in InDev to be closer to what we know in Minecraft today. This includes the old goofy player walking animation with Steve's arms flailing all over the place that lasted all the way through InfDev and early alpha. One of the more recent changes that involves removed features is the controversial new Java Minecraft launcher, which is the one we have today. That was first released as a beta test in 2019, becoming the official launcher shortly after. Prior to this complete launcher overhaul, the old launcher had quite a few fun little Easter eggs in the menu that no longer exist. If you hovered your mouse over the play button for a few seconds, a random mob would appear in the bottom right corner, and in the top left corner, a translucent creeper face would appear, with a 1 in 11 chance of being the shrug text emoji rather than the creeper face, which is just one of my favorite things ever. You could click on these to toggle between solid white and translucence. And lastly, pressing Ctrl B caused the experience orb sound to play. There is a laundry list of reasons to dislike the new launcher, and the old Easter eggs being removed is only one of the problems. If there's something that Minecraft is consistently good at, it's beauty in the little things, and the old Java launcher Easter eggs were just that. Everyone watching is familiar with the F3 screen, where you can get all sorts of useful information like coordinates, world, seed, day count, and hardware performance related statistics. Throughout Minecraft history though, almost all of the F keys have been used for different things that have been since removed from the game. Back in alpha version 1.2.2a, which was meant as a debugging version for the new Nether dimension, you could spawn Nether portals using the F4 key. This functionality was removed after a brief time when 1.2.2b was released. In early in-dev versions, F5 toggled rain on and off, which was kinda nice. There was a brief time in the first beta 1.8 pre-release where using the F6 and F7 keys controlled the in-game time. This was a feature left in accidentally with some debug code and was removed in beta 1.8 pre-release number 2. The cinematic camera feature, which delays and smooths your mouse movements to give a more cinematic feel, which also is still in the game today but is now unbinded by default, used to be automatically bound to the F8 key. Today, we're left with F1 spectator view, F2 screenshots, the F3 screen, and F5 third-person views, but the F keys have had quite the colorful history. The next removed feature is fluff.png. Not to be confused with the vintage classic pack.png, fluff.png refers to an obscure old cloud texture file that was only used for a brief week-and-a-half period, back in Minecraft InfDev, between versions 2010-0611 and 2010-0624. This was when clouds first became 3D instead of the flat white textures of old. It was actually a really cool texture, and gave clouds a bunch of contrast and variation, featuring a lot of darker grays in the color palette. However, Notch took the clouds into a more translucent and simple direction, and fluff.png was completely removed from the Minecraft jar when alpha was released. It's not lost media though, you can still go back and play the versions that use fluff.png. I hope someone out there is preserving it as a small piece of Minecraft history forever. If not, let this be your inspiration too. Back in the early days of Minecraft Alpha, in the time before biomes were released in Alpha version 1.2, there were a few updates with the Winter Mode map type. Winter Mode was essentially just a completely snow-covered version of a normal Minecraft Alpha world. You couldn't choose Winter Mode, each world had a 1 in 4 chance of spawning as a winter world. The Winter Mode world was considered Minecraft's first quote-unquote biome, as it was the first time there was any discernible differences in the normal neon green subforest of old. When biomes were released in Alpha 1.2, the Winter Mode map type was completely removed from the game. This one is kinda sad. I wish we had the option in vanilla Minecraft today to have a Winter Mode or some sort of season engine. It'd be cool to see the world covered in snow again, but with all the modern biomes that we have today. Hey, real quick, consistently an astronomical amount of you beautiful humans watching aren't subscribed, so if you're enjoying this one, please do. It's free and you can unsubscribe if you change your mind later. There's so much more nostalgic content coming and you won't want to miss any of it. This one may be my favorite on the list, the Isometric Screenshot. In the in-dev days, pressing F7 took an isometric screenshot of your map, which looked something like this. Like, it would show your builds at such a cool angle. I really wish they had something like this in Minecraft today. Like, for example, a way to combine isometric screenshots and maps together or something. That would open up a whole new creative outlet to modern Minecraft, and I would love that. Before the Frostburn update in Minecraft version 1.10, villages used to have gravel roads instead of the path blocks we have in the game today. And to be honest, I kind of miss them. The path blocks are kind of annoying since they don't technically count as a full block, kind of like farmland. So if you want to renovate a village, you're pretty much forced to destroy at least some of the path blocks. Pre 1.10 gravel roads were simple, yet kind of ugly. Over the years, different versions of Minecraft have featured pre-spawned inventories. This dates all the way back to Minecraft's survival test when you spawned in with 10 TNT every world. And then the weird time in InDev when you spawned in with stacks of certain items that are 99 instead of 64, which just feels so wrong. Or for the brief period in InfDev when it was 999 items. This practice continued all the way up until Minecraft official release version 1.4, which was the last version to feature the classic pre-spawned creative inventory. This feature was always kind of annoying, but it's so nostalgic to see those items put together on the hotbar again. If you had a pirated version of the game, it was actually detected in the early days, and you would get the unlicensed copy message at the top left of your screen permanently. That little frowny face makes me feel so bad. The code for this function was removed in the Adventure update, aka Beta 1.8. Fun fact about me, I used to make really bad Minecraft videos on an extremely old channel and used a cracked version of the game. FBI, open up, sorry Mojang, please don't sue me. Watching those videos and seeing the unlicensed copy message is so funny to me. Like, we knew it was wrong. Notch literally displayed it to the world that you were pirating. Yet there's still so many old videos with this message displayed. It gave Minecraft that old charming feeling that we'll just probably never feel again in a video game. Another more recently removed feature on this list is the extremely brief test particles for the Conduit. When the Conduit was added in snapshot 18W15A, it featured these different colored particles that were actually super pretty and variable. Literally 1 week later though, in snapshot 18W16A, the Conduit particles were updated to the same particles we have today, which I do like, but it was cool seeing all of the multicolored stuff coming together. Something interesting is that the Bedrock version of the Conduit actually uses these old particles. I don't know why they did this, so I guess Bedrock players get a rare W. No offense though. Do you remember the super secret settings button? No? Well, it was only around between version 1.7.2 and removed a short time later in one of the snapshots for version 1.9. It was weird. It played a random game sound when pressed, but with a lower pitch than normal, and would also activate super weird features like upside down mode, pixelated mode, black and white shaders, and much more. You could only disable the settings by going into third person mode or cycling through literally all of them until your game returned to normal. I'm not really entirely sure why this was a thing. It was odd, but kind of fun, I guess. Let me know in the comments if you have any vivid and lucid memories of using this button, because I don't. For an extremely brief period in version 1.8, mobs had an update to their AI that caused them to actually run away from a creeper that was about to explode. However, due to performance issues, this was removed in the pre-release for 1.8.1. This is because the mobs that were able to run away from creepers were coded to check for that scenario every tick. So having a ton of mobs in the same area caused the game to massively lag, even more so than normal. This was a goofy feature, but it also kind of makes sense. I wish they could rework it to fix the performance issues because it's kind of weird that when a creeper aggroes another mob, they just stand there and take it like it's nothing. A long time ago in Minecraft InDev, there was an item called the gear. The gear was kind of an odd looking texture when placed on a block in the game and had no other function outside of aesthetics at the time. They were a precursor to redstone, and every gear that was left over in InDev and InfDev worlds was automatically converted to redstone wire when Minecraft Alpha came out. They look cool, but I'm glad the redstone systems we have today exist. Like, imagine if Notch ran with the gear system for electricity instead of redstone. Imagine all the crazy contraptions we would have missed out on. We've covered exclusively removed Java Edition features in this video, but I already know there will be tons of comments about this one, even more so if I don't add it to the list. So here's one for my Pocket Edition people out there: the Nether Reactor core. The Nether Reactor core could be crafted out of diamonds and iron in old Pocket Edition versions, before the Nether was released in Pocket Edition version 0.12.0. It served as a placeholder for Nether blocks like netherrack and glowstone. However, it was strange because even when 0.12.0 came out, if you had a Nether core reactor placed in your world, it was automatically preserved. Like, they removed the obtainability of the block even in creative mode, but not the block itself. And thus, worlds today that still have the Nether core reactor in them are increasingly rare. And veteran Pocket Edition players who own one treat it as a novelty. What other features do you remember that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this nostalgic Minecraft list video and want to see more just like it, leave a like on the video and subscribe for a potentially endless nostalgic Minecraft experience. I love you all so very much, and I'll see you in the next one.